All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get things started. So thank you all so much for taking the time. In case this is your first ever Catch Up with Keeper webinar series, basically the way these work is we will start with a tour of all of the new upgrades and improvements in the product. After that, we will dive straight into some Q&A. And then we do not have an app showcase, so that will be it for the webinar today. But if we have an app showcase, those come afterwards. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. As I'm doing that, one more reminder, also in case this is your first ever webinar, please ask your questions in the Q&A function in Zoom rather than in the chat so that we can find them and answer them. All right. So kicking things off, we have basically three major categories of improvements this month: client communications improvements, file review improvements, and management reporting improvements. So kicking things off with the client communications improvements, this is building on top of what we did last month, which was upgrading these tiles to make things look just easier on the eyes, less information, kind of overwhelming you right as you get onto the close page. And overall, the feedback that we got was that these were a big improvement, big step forward in terms of making the close page more usable, less clunky, less overwhelming. But it was not without some very warranted criticism. And so we've taken that criticism, listened to it, and used it to improve the product in 4 core ways. First is we added this waiting text. This is small but important text that lets you see how many clients you have asked, or how many questions you have asked your clients that you are still waiting on that they have not gone in and responded to. And second, we made the very, very bright, as my designer likes to call it, high energy red, a more muted but still noticeable purple. So these icons, which were red, have now been changed to purple. So hopefully that, as I like to put it, punches you in the face a little bit less when you go into the close page. Okay, once we actually get into the client communications tiles, we made a couple of improvements here. The third improvement we made is we added these ready pills so that you can easily see right at a glance what's the work that you need to do next as soon as you dive in. And fourth and finally, we also improved the navigation on the screen. So previously, when you clicked in here, we had, for a brief couple of weeks, we had the icons over here on the left. And people found those very confusing and hard to sort of remember what icon corresponded to what interface. So we moved those icons over here onto the top and also described what they are for. And so now you can really easily get between all of your different client communications interfaces without needing to close out of a modal and open up a new one. All right. And here on the portal settings, we've also made some improvements. So first things first, we added text message reminders. So if you have this box checked, much like your email reminders, this will periodically send your clients at the same frequency as your email reminders a notification about any outstanding unanswered questions still sitting in their portal. So the logic is just the same, but the delivery mechanism is different. One note is that you, in order to use these text message reminders, you do have to have a phone number for your contactor. And speaking of contacts, the next major upgrade or minor upgrade, depending on how you see it, that we made to the portal is we added these last seen states. So this will basically update anytime your client logs into the portal. And that gives you a really good finger on the pulse in terms of how often your clients are going into the portal. If they're not going into the portal at all, and you need to ask them questions outside of the portal or see what you need to do to get them into the portal. But so this data should show you that in conjunction with your email history opens, how often your clients are seeing and engaging with the emails you send them through Keeper. All right. So those are the upgrades to the client communications interface and system within the close page for this month. We also have some file improvements, so I'm going to go over those now. And I like this improvement in particular, first because it is something I use a ton in our own close, and secondly because I think it really helps tie together how using the workflow and task management elements of Keeper ties into improving your review and helping you run through your processes that much more efficiently. So what we did, in short, was we took any attachments that you added to any account reconciliation tasks, and we made those show up on the final review. So if you upload a statement or a reconciliation report here on your account reconciliation task, so let's say we've got Brex Cash or Chase Checking. Once we scroll down to our profit and loss or balance sheets, of course, a lot of these are going to be balance sheet items, but this works on the P&L accounts just the same. If you upload a file to any of those, you'll see it now here on the balance sheet. So as you're reviewing for how cash has changed, for example, you can just click in right here, see the statement, pull it up right here, and then understand, use that information to help you run through your balance sheet review without needing to like bounce around between different interfaces. All right. And last but not least, we have a couple of management report improvements for this month. So I'm going to tab over to a new tab here, show templates, because that's one of the big changes. We made a huge upgrade to our templates system for management reports. In particular, we just cleaned up all the UI here. So everything will just feel much easier to use. So in case any of you have ever like clicked this page open and been like frightened by the UI horrors that were contained therein, those should now all be cleaned up. So you should it should be a lot easier to create new templates, edit templates, adjust them, apply them to all your clients, all right here from the template screen for your reporting. And then one more change we actually made to the reports themselves is we added rounding. So now if you've got your financial statements and let's say you're delivering trailing 12 months, you've got a bunch of columns on one screen. Oftentimes it can be really helpful to round those. So you can round them to the nearest whole number, nearest thousand, or nearest millions, depending on your client's preferences. All right. And that is going to go ahead and about wrap up the new updates that we have to share for this month. So with that, I am going to go ahead and pop open the Q&A section and see if we've got any questions. Okay, so Deb asked, when will the client communications improvements be available in Keeper? They should already be there. If you're not seeing your client communications tabs look like this and your client portal modal here as well look like how my screen looks right now, then refresh the page, or sometimes at the very most, you need to log out and then log back in, and that will get the latest version of Keeper. Okay. Jennifer asked on the reporting page, how do you reorder the reports? So a couple of ways here. If you're on your management reporting templates, these little drag handles right here will let you reorder the reports. And then if you're in your management reporting editor for a single client, they exist right here as well. So you just sort of hover over them and you should see these little 6 dots. So you can drag and drop them. Okay. Corey asked how to remove the client uploads inbox. There's not currently a way to do that. Definitely something we can work on. But yeah, for now, it's not currently removable. Okay, Heather asked, is it possible to allow for a P&L detail report or the same P&L view that we have inside Keeper organized by vendor? This is definitely something that we are working on improving. We had to make the aforementioned infrastructure improvements that y'all have seen on this call to allow for adding more reporting. But now that we've done that, we're building on a much more solid foundation for the management reporting editor. So you should definitely start to see other reports like that coming soon. Ty asked, is there any way to write the executive notes while viewing the reports? Ty, I assume you maybe mean like these executive summary notes. If so, this is the only place you can write them at this time, but you can have Keeper open in 2 windows if you need. Okay. Casey asked, Is there a way to get rid of the executive summary? Not yet. That's definitely something that we could work on. So I'll make a note of that here, and I'll make sure that we add that in when we start going through these next round of improvements. Adrian asked, I don't see any report templates. Do I need to add the templates myself? So if you don't see any here, I've added all of these. So you can click add new to add a new template, just right there. So we don't have any by default. Or if you have a client whose report structure you like and you want to save it up as a template, you can actually do that here as well, just by clicking settings. And well, here I have to make a change because this is actually already tied to something, but let's say this was just the 1 month. Okay. So if we wanted to save this up as a new template, we could click add current config as a new template. And we could say this is like September 6th template. I would suggest naming it something more more meaningful than just the date, but there you go. And then now on our templates, we should have that 9/26 template right here. Brett asks, is there any way to add a report from QBO to the reporting in Keeper? Not currently at this time, although we're definitely, as I mentioned earlier, looking to broaden how many reports we make available in the management reporting builder. Taylor asked, will we see the ability to move tasks from one section to another in the template like we can in the close? Yes, that should definitely be coming. We've got some templates upgrades planned that I think are going to make things a lot more usable there for the project and close templates. An anonymous attendee asked, is there any chance that the Microsoft Outlook task integration is coming soon? Sooner rather than later, yes, although I don't have any concrete deadlines I can share on that at the moment. But it is definitely, we're thinking a ton about how to make sure, how to make email and Keeper play really, really nicely together. Amanda asked, are we planning to make a shared company email available so that clients and vendors responses can go to a shared company email instead of to one individual? For example, if a vendor replies to a W-9 request via email instead of uploading to the portal, that would go to a shared company email. That is, there are a couple of upgrades that we have planned for that. And so the first thing I'll mention, just as a sort of aside, is today, because there's only one integrated email that you connect Keeper to, if you connect a shared email to the practice-wide email, then anyone who responds to that will respond to a shared email. So that's what we recommend doing, something like a clients at or a team at or some, as you mentioned, shared email. That way, anyone who responds to it, anyone who should be monitoring that email address will be able to see those responses. I will also mention we do have some more plans in the works for allowing a sort of inbox style email so that you can have clients and vendors email things to that inbox, and that will route into Keeper, but not quite ready to share that functionality just yet. Okay, Ty asked, can we change the name of a report such as the P&L year-to-date? Not currently. So basically the reports themselves will dynamically update based on the criteria. So if you change this to fiscal year-to-date, income statement fiscal year-to-date will be the title. That's not currently modifiable. Okay, I'm getting a lot of like feature request questions. So budget to actuals, integration with Google Calendar, template KPIs. All of these are things we do want to plan on supporting eventually. The best way to get like updates on our feature requests and feature request timelines is via the cannies. So budget versus actuals should have a canny, as does Google Calendar. And when we do have updates on those features, I promise we will make them available in the canny. But I don't have anything more to share on those updates at this time. So yeah, same with templated KPIs, definitely something that we are planning on adding, planning on improving, but they can't currently be customized today. But when they will, we will be sure to share that with y'all as well. Okay, getting a couple other questions if it's possible to reorder items on the management reports outside of the financial package. Not currently, but definitely something that we want to open up a little more than we have today. Okay, Cindy asked if I can comment on the best practices for using team chat and what the difference is between the red count by the chat bubble at the top left and the inbox at the top right. Chat bubble at the top left. I think this maybe is close to the top left. Okay. So I will mention a couple of things. First is I'll answer that question directly. Second is comments are like, if you've been frustrated with comments, I apologize. I promise you we're making them better. We have a bunch of really, really good upgrades to make comments feel much more similar to like a commenting system that you may be familiar with using in other workflow programs, other software you may use. So if you've been frustrated with the chat commenting system, I apologize. I promise it's getting better. That said, there is an important question, which is what is the difference between the numbers here and the numbers here? The numbers here on the left, these are any comments that you have been app tagged in on this client. So these all relate to DemoCo. Excuse me. And then on the inbox on the right, this is anything that you've been tagged in across all clients. So this notification counter should be a strict superset of this one because it will include anything that you've been tagged in plus for this client plus any other clients as well. Elaine asked if we are adding the ability to remove the executive summary. Eventually, yes, it is not something we have at this time today. Okay, Amanda asked, do we have any examples of ways to use Zapier with Keeper? We should have lots, actually. The two best places for this are, one is our Zapier integration documentation. And so in here, we actually walk through not only some of the most common examples, but also how to build them. And so the sort of two really common examples that we'll see people use the Zapier integration for. First is if you use a proposals management system, so an Ignition or an Anchor or a Go proposal or anything like that, or it could be generic like a HelloSign or DocuSign. You can set up actions to automatically happen in Keeper as soon as your clients sign a new proposal in that software. So for example, let's say someone signs a proposal in Practice Ignition or Ignition, then basically what you can have happen is you can trigger 4 steps. The first is you can add that client in Keeper. The second is you can add the contact. So basically give that contact access to the portal. The third is you can apply a project template. And so those project templates are basically a way of taking a set of tasks that you need to complete for their onboarding now that they've signed, plus a set of questions you need from them that you can put into their portal, send them a link to their portal, and then they can go into their portal and start answering them. And then fourth and finally, you can also use Keeper to update your client properties. So you could use the data you get from the ignition proposal signature to punch in things like rate, things like who their account manager may be. So any information that comes off of that event of the client signing their proposal, maybe contract start date, you can push all of that into properties inside of Keeper. And so that's one example. We, again, walk through how to do it on here. It's a great way to streamline and automate the process of onboarding new clients. And then I believe we actually also have a template built right into Keeper today. So you can literally just copy that 4-step flow that I described from our templates just by going to the Zapier page, which you can also get to from our Help Center. Okay, Deb asked, is there a way to add a disclosure statement to the P&L and balance sheet? There is. So if you're in Keeper, this is a practice level settings. If you're in Keeper, you go to your practice settings, and then you should start in practice and statements. And then there is a tab called legal disclaimers. You can set 2 different disclaimers. You can have one on the cover page of the entire report, and then you can have one on the footer page of each report. So here we've got just a couple of examples, but you can set these, and then anytime any report gets published out of Keeper, it'll always use these legal disclaimers. Okay, and Renee asked, can we review how the prepare, reviewer, manager roles affect using Keeper? Sure thing. So a couple of things I'll mention. So if you don't use prepare, reviewer, you won't see these two, but these are your prepare, reviewer, manager roles. So if you want to see how to turn these on, first and foremost, you go to your practice settings, you go here to tasks, and then you have close assignee roles. So prepare, reviewer, manager. One of the other toggles you'll see here is override assignee levels. So if you use language to describe your firm's hierarchy internally that is different from the pre-baked defaults that we've given you here, so prepare, reviewer, manager, you can override them, and you can say, hey, I want to name the preparer bookkeeper, and I want to name the reviewer quality manager, and I want to name the manager partner. So you can do all of that, and you really only need to do this in your settings one time, and then all of the language used there will propagate throughout the app. So you will never see prepare, reviewer, manager again. Once you have turned those on, a couple of things I'll mention. So first and foremost, you can see those as columns here on the client list. This is a great way to make sure that you can easily filter for who's responsible for what. So you can filter down and say, okay, these are Ben's clients that he's the bookkeeper for that he needs to work on. And then you can save these like custom saved views for each bookkeeper, for each reviewer, so they can just have their portfolio of clients that they can go in and dive into. Another thing that is great about Prepare, Reviewer, Manager is you can automatically reassign tasks that are assigned to that person. So let's say I am currently the Democo reviewer, but for some reason I need to change that to test user. So you'll get this prompt here that says reassign the reviewer, where you can also choose to reassign, any open tasks. So you can see your closing tasks, your non-closing tasks, reassign them, and then that way, everything basically under the hood in the close will also get reassigned. This is great if you have someone who's going out of office and you need to temporarily reassign a client, and then you need to reassign everything back. And last but not least, prepare reviewer roles also have a place in your templates. So if you have a template, you can also assign a close assignee to a task. And then when you apply that template to the client, those roles will basically, it'll perform a lookup. So it'll say like, look up this task or look up the preparer on this client, and then assign that user to this task. So yeah, those are a few of the high level overviews of what Prepare Reviewer can do to help streamline some of the workflow work in Keeper. All right. And I think that we'll go ahead and just about wrap things up for the Q&A. So I'll go ahead and stop my share here. Thank you all so much for taking the time. In case you did caught only part of this or are just joining right here at the end, all of these are posted live tomorrow. both in our Help Center and then also on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. But thank you all so much for taking the time. Good luck with the September closes, which is also a quarter end close. So good luck with that as well. And if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to our team and we will give you a hand.